now, right now. Right 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 now, right now. Oh, I got a real good feeling.
We try to bring you high-quality educational and informational content every single day. Why do you think the price is having such an anemic time? The news story of the hour. Jump onto the chart. Is this the beginning of a massive financial unraveling? We got to add a little addendum to the show map today. So we start here on the daily. Now, we've been looking at the RSI on Bitcoin's daily chart for the last several days. It always has been, but it's been increasing over the last 50 years since it's been out there. The government... Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and welcome back to Coffee and Crypto Live. This is your week daily morning show where we bring you the latest in everything Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And in today's episode, we are going to be talking about the level of support on Bitcoin that needs to hold if we expect Bitcoin to be able to rally even farther from here. I'm very excited to bring you today's show because I'm also really excited about the video that went up on Friday. I want you to drop a 1 in chat if you were able to catch the FinSoft Friday premiere video. It was about 41 minutes long and didn't get a ton of views because many of you guys are probably like, what is that? That's not cryptocurrency content, but it ties very closely into crypto. I would highly encourage you to go and check that out. The likes on that video were insane compared to the number of views. So I think you'll really appreciate and enjoy that video. The comments were very positive as well. We got a ton of great feedback. So if you want more content like that, make sure to hit that subscribe button, like the videos, and also share them with anybody that you think needs to hear them. That video is called The 2 Principles That All Millionaires Master to Get Them Rich, something like that. Make sure to go back and watch that on the channel. It says in the thumbnail, build wealth guaranteed, and that is a guarantee. I can guarantee you that if you do what I show you in that video, you will build wealth. No question about it. I guarantee you that you will do that unless for some reason, you know, like I said in the video, a meteor hits your house and on the same day your insurance company goes bankrupt. Then other than a freak accident, I guarantee you will be wealthier in 10 years than you are right now because you follow those principles. So make sure to check that out if you want to build wealth. And I think you do because that's why you're here. All right. Really excited about today's stream and getting to interact with all of you guys. Got a lot of you in chat already. Crypto Surge is in chat, said good morning. Joe Bollier's in chat, said good morning. Tell me, Joe, if I'm pronouncing that right. Is it Bollier or Bollier? Is it a soft E or a hard E? I don't know. I think that's the phrasing. Mike Lowry's in chat. Queen's in chat. Crypto Surge is in. Surge. You corrected me on that a few months ago. Is in chat. Billy Skills 1428. Dutch XRP. Robson Lopes said, God is good and faithful. We are here representing Joyzy. Let's go, people. Love to see it. Fino's in chat. Sean O'Brien's in chat. Rick said, hola. Hola. ¿Cómo está? I saw Friday's video, but I'm halfway. Hopefully, I'm really excited to hear that you're watching that. Guys, we had a great video. We had a great weekend. We did a lot of work on our house because, look, one of the things that I aim to teach you guys here on this channel, I explained in that video, and I'm going to continue explaining because there's a lot to it. There's so much that I want to share with you, is that the way to become wealthy, the way to have a good life in general, is to by obeying the very first thing that God told us to do. It says, and God blessed them and said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it. That is the first commandment given to mankind. Subdue it. What is it? The noun. There was 3 words earlier. And replenish the earth and subdue it. As in, subdue the earth. The way we subdue the earth is by being meek, and we shall inherit it. Matthew 5:5, blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. We don't earn it. We got to inherit it. We don't want to be angry and controlling and irritable. We got to inherit it by being meek. But once you get control over your slice of creation, whether that be your office, whether that be your car, whether that be your home, whether that be your finances, whether that be your time, whether that be your relationships, as in you put them in the way that they were supposed to be ordered from the start. Once you put them in the order that they were supposed to be in, i.e. your house should not be an absolute, it should not look like a hurricane went through it. My home has looked like that plenty of times, not so much in my adult life, but I have been there. And similarly, garage, car, different areas of my life have been crazy chaotic. Finances have been chaotic. My time has been chaotic. My relationships have been chaotic. You have to go through your life and systematically bring order to all of those. We had to bring a ton of order to our office. We did a bunch of painting. We got rid of a bunch of stuff. We organized everything. We had this bin. Let me just tell you a story from just the last month or so, because we've been doing a ton of just housekeeping on our office. We got about a 600-700 square foot office here. We've got a set in the main room where the actual work gets done, as far as obviously work gets done here, but where the office work, planning, and the big whiteboard, it's actually a glass whiteboard out there. But we had about literally, let's see, probably about 200 to 300 different cables. I'm talking like 15, 20 different HDMI cables, 15, 20 different power cables, 15 Ethernet, just a ton of cables. They were all over the place. We had to go through there and organize every single one of them. Everyone we didn't want, we threw away. Everyone that we kept, we organized. There's now this nice, neat little 1x3 drawer, and all the cables go in there. So we brought order to our office. We're bringing order to our vehicles. We're bringing order to our home. We're bringing order to our finances. Not that they're crazy disorder by most people's standard. They're probably cleaner than the majority of America anyway, but we're bringing as much order as we can, bring order into our life. That will help us to have order over our finances and over our investments, and in that order state, you can grow. When was the last time you felt very productive in a messy environment? Right? When was the last time you felt very productive in a messy vehicle? When was the last time you felt very productive when your mind was cluttered because you had so many things going on, you couldn't sleep? When was the last time your finances were productive when they weren't ordered? It's our dream to help you subdue creation by bringing order to it. And in doing so, your life will be better. You will be able to help more people. You will be able to enjoy life much, much bigger than you ever had before responsibly. You'll be able to glorify God, and you will also be able to grow your wealth so that you'll be wealthier in the future, that you'll be able to enjoy your wealth even more and be able to be more generous than ever before because you followed and obeyed the very first commandment of Scripture to subdue the earth. How? By being meek and doing it God's way and following his words. All right, let's go ahead and jump on to CoinMarketCap. Just had to kind of get the mission and the vision out there so that we started the week off right. Right now, Bitcoin is trading at $29,346. We are going to bring order to a disordered chart because it hasn't been updated over the weekend, and we're going to figure out where do we expect Bitcoin to go relatively soon, and how can we be prepared for that? Guys, this stream is going to look a little bit cookie cutter. And the reason for that, and I'm going to mix it up. I'm going to look at altcoins and whatnot. But the reason for that is because I want to, as I just said, bring order to what we're doing here on the stream. And one of the ways that I've come up with doing that is by something I call the 3 Ps. It stands for perceive, predict, and plan. And so when we look at a market, we're going to say, okay, we're going to perceive, we're going to look at the market through a lens of a technical analysis, fundamental analysis background, and we're going to say, what is this market doing? What's happening right here? Let's get a lay of the land. Let's clear the fog of war. Let's go call the cartographers and get some maps of this place. Let's figure out what's happening. And then after we figure out what's going on, then we will be able to make some predictions. All right, if I have some understanding of what the Atlantic Ocean is like, then I can predict, okay, on this day, maybe a hurricane will show up, maybe it'll be this strong, maybe it'll hit this town. I make a prediction about what's going to happen in the area that we've just spent all that time perceiving. Once you look at an office and you look at the business that lives in that office, then you can make a prediction about whether or not that business will be successful. Right? And then with that prediction and with that perception, we can go on and make a plan. And then those plans we can use to make profitable trades. And we're all happier. So we're going to do that today, as we do almost every day, because we like to look at the Bitcoin market. And I'll give you guys a chance to shout out some other altcoins if you would like. And we will look at them as well. All right. Jumping on to CoinMarketCap. Bitcoin is up 0.14%. We're in the perception stage of things right now. Bitcoin is up 0.15% over the last 24 hours, up 0.7% over the last 7 days, up 4.64% in the last 90 days, up 76.5% year to date. I love to start by reading out all 4 of those numbers because it helps us to have the right perception of things. One of the aspects of perception of a market is having a correct emotional understanding of that market. I was just telling someone recently that one of the things you have to watch out for is that many times your emotions will lie to you. In my life, I have often found that my emotions have lied to me more often than they've spoken truth to me. There are plenty of times that emotions have lied to me and said, this is now a bad investment because it dropped $5. This person now doesn't like me because they did something I didn't like, so now obviously they must hate me. My life now sucks because this one thing, there's plenty of times that emotions have lied to me. You're no good, Jeb. You're just dumb, Jeb. I get those feelings too. I get those thoughts too. Guess what? I'm human. Just because I'm on the other side of a screen doesn't make me some kind of anthropomorphic robot. Your emotions will lie to you oftentimes, and one of the emotions that may be lying to you is that Bitcoin is not performing well right now, and so Bitcoin's a bad investment. Bitcoin, I think, is a good investment. I would caution you not to make it your only investment. I think there should be diversification outside of cryptocurrency, but oftentimes you need to look at truth. And how do you look at truth? You look at facts. Where do you find the facts? You perceive what's really happening. The perception of Bitcoin is thus. Bitcoin has been rallying for 13 and a half years nonstop, and we are currently in a bear market, which we have precedents for ending in about a year and a half. We have some predictions that we need to make about whether or not that will happen. Bitcoin does need to prove itself every bull market because it's not been here for 100 years like the stock market has. It's been here for 13 years. It's got a pretty good track record, but it's not 120 years like the stock market is. So it does need some more time. It is a little bit more risky. That's not a knock against Bitcoin. I think it's great technology, but we do need to see if it's going to be continually adopted. But so far, from what we can tell, seems to be a pretty good investment. We need to understand it's more risky than plenty of other markets, but with that extra risk also comes extra reward. So the risk to reward ratio, I think, is fair, and I think it is a good idea if you're an investor to have 10, 20, 30%, maybe more, maybe less than that, maybe more, depending on how much you love crypto, depending on how little you know about the stocks in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. I think that it should be, in the grand scheme of things, a important part of your portfolio. I think by leaving out cryptocurrency, you will be missing out on some of the technological innovation that takes place over the next decade or two. So I think it's an important part of a portfolio based on the track record and some other altcoins as well. If you're a speculator, there are plenty of good altcoins that you can make a lot of money on, but those are harder to make predictions and plans around because they don't have as long of a track record. I like the approach of compound interest, growing my wealth in a certain way over time. Let me just give you one number. We'll jump back into Bitcoin. We found that if you put $50,000 into the stock market or into any market that brings a 10% return, doesn't even matter if the stock market, it could be real estate investment, crypto, whatever, brings a 10% return every single year. You put $50,000 in principal and $2,000 a month. Most of you guys can realistically think about how to get that much money going into an investment, and you compound that for 30 years. You will start $50,000. In that time, you will put in $700 and something thousand of principal, and you will have $5.48 million with a 10% return in 30 years. In 32 years, if at a 10% return, $1 turns into $16. So every time you spend $10 on a cup of coffee, think about if you would be willing to spend $160 on that, because in 32 years, investing it at 10%, which is possible, you could have $160 with that $10, not to mention that the interest will compound on itself. So that's just linear interest, not including the extra money that you will put in there, multiplying itself. You have the ability to make a huge, huge, huge life-changing amount of wealth by following the principles of financial sovereignty and trading and investing. Bitcoin right now is at $570 billion in market capitalization. Ethereum is down by 0.5%, up 0.73% over the last 7 days, up 1.73% in the last 90, and up 55% year to date. Binance is doing relatively kind of mediocre. It basically hasn't moved year to date, but honestly, that's a bit of a point in its favor, because ever since the beginning of the year, the attack from the Securities and Exchange Commission has come in and led to Binance having a major drop. On the other hand, XRP has done exceptionally well because it settled this case with the SEC. Probably should have mentioned this before, but it's not going to be surprising to me if you see XRP flip in BNB, because BNB has quite a large suppressing factor on it right now in the fact of that SEC case against not only the founder, not only the exchange, but also against the coin itself. Now, the lawsuit isn't exactly against BNB, but it is listed as a security under accusation by the SEC, and XRP had his case settled. The SEC doesn't like it, but ultimately that's up to the court, not the SEC. So XRP has been doing relatively well, sitting at 70 cents. Would not be a surprise at all to see XRP flipping BNB. It'll probably take a very long time, if ever, for XRP to recapture its former glory of number 3, because Tether is such a large stablecoin. But if something were to ever happen to Tether, first of all, it's in the whole market into like a 3-month bear market, but XRP probably would take back that third spot at this point. I think XRP is on the resurgence, and if you're looking for a good altcoin, I think XRP is a pretty solid choice for this upcoming bull market at this point in time. All right, looking at the dominance, Bitcoin's dominance is more or less continuing to trade sideways. By the way, looks like my dark mode turned off. Just come right up here and press that button. Bitcoin's dominance is continuing to sit sideways up here at 48.2%. Bit of a holding pattern. The whole market's in a bit of a holding pattern right now. We're going to see that on the price in a second. Dominance is sitting pretty stable. It's gone down about 0.5% or so into other markets such as the other category, and also into things like Dogecoin and stuff. Dogecoin had a bit of a rally. Yeah. Bitcoin is basically sitting here at 48%, which gives us confidence that things are going to work out just fine. If you just tuned in, I really appreciate you tuning in. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are enjoying today's content, and tell me in the chat if there is anything that you guys would like for me to cover or look at, and also give me any suggestions you guys have for coins that you would like to see. All right, jumping now on to Bitcoin. As you can see, Bitcoin is in a holding pattern. We've been trading sideways for some time now, and that is something that is likely to continue for a while. It's probably going to take a little bit of time before Bitcoin actually goes ahead with a major breakout. You can see, obviously, over the weekend, a lot of things have updated. We'll just go ahead and remove a lot of the drawings, and actually, I'll take that back. I will leave this one right here. I'll move it sideways over here. A lot of things have changed over the weekend as far as we've moved through time. We haven't really changed a whole lot on the actual price action of things. We broke bullish above this downtrending level of resistance, but ultimately it was just us trading sideways through it, so it doesn't really matter. Bitcoin is holding firm at 29,123. All right. As I said, right now we're in the perception stage. We're going to try and give about 2 to 3 minutes to each one of these because I'd like to look at some altcoins with you, and you guys can tell me in chat what you would like those to be. But let's go ahead and start. Perception. What is the perception in the market right now? One of the things I want to point out to you are a couple of the trend lines. You can see we have our different floors and ceilings that are going to be important for our analysis. You can see that Bitcoin does have a downtrending level right here that I believe it's going to need to contend with. I think that level is going to be quite important because similarly to the previous level of resistance, which was right here, Bitcoin's going to have to decide whether or not it can hold that, except this time, the downtrending level of resistance is going straight through the previous high. Now, to be fair, we did have the downtrending level of resistance right here, and Bitcoin broke through it quite well. You can see here, we're actually using it as support now. But if you draw it a little bit differently off of this high instead, then we're technically still under it. So you can see that we have 2 levels here. We've broken above one. We're below the other one. We're wedged right now in between 2 downtrending levels of resistance. And Bitcoin's broken through one, but now we're going to have to find out if Bitcoin can break through the second. One of the things that's going to make me a little bit more bullish today than you might actually expect is that Bitcoin has actually spent less time down here towards the support zone, and it has more volume as it's bullish. So you might be surprised to hear what I say about the market today in the prediction phase of things. But first, let's go back out to the daily chart and look at our Lux Algo. Lux Algo on daily chart is still bullish, and I want you to know that the buy signal that we saw on Lux Algo on June 20th, a little over a month ago, its trend catcher is currently right below us. So there's actually quite a lot of significance to the levels that we're at because it's right above the trend catcher. And at this point, guys, Lux Algo is a large enough technical indicator that I would not be at all surprised if Lux Algo was indeed one of the major technical factors that the market is moving around. I would not be at all surprised to see if Bitcoin falls below the trend catcher. People using Lux Algo are the people that end up buying that market and leading it back to the upside because Lux Algo is such an important technical indicator in the market now, and so many people use it. 1 second. I'm sorry about that. Let me see if that just messed up the stream. Can you guys see me? Oh, am I here? All right, I'm here. Sorry. Hit the close button. All right. Anyway, what I was saying is that Lux Algo is a very important part of the market. It's an important part of the ecosystem, and I would not be at all surprised to see the buy pressure that it is providing, helping to support the market. Looking at the daily chart as well, there is currently a MACD cross incoming. That's very encouraging. We're also moving slightly to the upside on RSI. We're trading sideways on market, which brings RSI back to equilibrium at 50. Remember, it's an oscillator, so it's going to move back towards the baseline if the market trades sideways, which it is. So MACD and RSI are coming into great shape. I am starting to become more confident at this point that Bitcoin is going to be bullish and break bullish here. And I'll explain why, and I'll just kind of talk about some of the things we said last week. One of the things I want you to keep in mind, last Monday, I gave it, I think, a 70% likelihood we were going to continue to the downside. The next day, I gave it a 65% likelihood. As the week went on, I got more and more bullish. And at this point, you're about to hear in the prediction phase, I'm actually starting to lean more in the bullish camp than in the bearish camp. We originally predicted that Bitcoin would fall down to 28,545. It doesn't seem like it wants to do that right now. At the moment, anyway, it seems like Bitcoin wants to set the high 29s as a support level. And to be fair, we did kind of go down there and touch that. I predicted us going to 28,545. We fell down to 28,878. So we got within about $300 of our original prediction. And I could see us not actually going back to 28,545. Looking on the daily chart, it would stand to reason because it is a correction. And it is a pretty strong correction as well. From the local high up here, Bitcoin did drop in the span of 11 days, 9 to 10%. So it's possible that Bitcoin bounces here. Maybe it rejects on incoming resistance right around here, 30K, comes back tests it. But I would not be surprised at all at this point to see a short-term rally. So let's move into the prediction stage of things. We want to predict where the market's going to go. Again, the point of our analysis is not a prediction. Predictions are fun. It's fun to talk about them at the dinner table. It's cool if you get a bunch of predictions right and people say, wow, that guy's a mad lad. You know, people go on CNBC or on Fox News, Fox Business or Yahoo Finance, and they're like, this guy predicted the 2008 financial crash. Now he has this to say. That, you know, that's the big headline that everybody's got. The question in my mind is not, did the guy predict the 2008 financial crisis? My question is, did he have a plan in place to capitalize on that crash? Anybody can predict what the market's going to do, and it does take some skill. It does take expertise. It does take an experience in whatever market you're speaking about. But I mean, I'm not going to be able to predict what's going to happen in like the used mittens market. That's not my market, right? But what I can say is that if somebody can make a prediction and then put money on that prediction and make money with it, that's what impresses me. Not just if you can make a prediction, but your finances are in such chaos and disorder that you're not in a place to capitalize on it. What impresses me is if somebody predicts what's going to happen correctly and then goes about making a move on it. And it also impresses me more if their prediction was wrong, but they had a contingency plan in place and they still made the money, than if somebody had a prediction that came true, but they were not in position to make money on that trade. Right? If you're only going to do one right, either get the prediction right or get the plan and the execution right, get the prediction wrong, get the plan and the execution right. And so we're going to talk about the prediction here, but remember, it is secondary. It is not as important as the plan and the execution. We'll talk about that third. My prediction at this point, and that's not to cover my tail, guys. A lot of our predictions have been pretty close as far as the levels recently. Of course, I gave a higher prediction that we were going to drop because I needed to, because we had bearish precedent. As we continue to move to the upside, I'm starting to shift that. But anyway, let's talk about the prediction. My prediction at this point, I'm going to give it a 55% likelihood that we move up to our next level of resistance at this point, and I'm going to give it a 45% likelihood that we're going to move down to our next level of support at this point. Few key reasons for that we found in our perception stage. A few things that I kind of found that I didn't really mention. I'm always looking at the market while I'm talking and gathering information as we go. By the way, one of the things I like about this show that is helpful for me in my time management, and I think is also helpful for you guys, is I sit down, and I'm not ashamed of this because there are areas I want to put more planning into the stream, but this is actually intentional. I do my best not to do my technical analysis before the stream. I do my best to sit down and do the technical analysis live so you guys can see my methodology. I just want you guys to know I don't sit here for 2 hours and plan out what I'm going to say. I look at the market. I'm giving you live commentary as I'm experiencing it, as I'm making the predictions. You are seeing it live. I did not sit down and say, oh, I'm going to give it a 55% likelihood that's going to break up. There are areas I want to be more prepared in the stream. That's true. I want to be more prepared in how much time we spend on each segment, what altcoins we're going to talk about in that. But the technical analysis, I believe with this stream, what I want to keep doing is leaving that on the fly, because one of my expertise is looking at the market and saying, boom, I see this, I'm going to tell you what I see. And a lot of times, whether I look out for 5 minutes or I look out for 5 hours, so long as I'm running through my systems and doing all my checks, it's going to be just as accurate, and I don't have to spend 5 hours doing TA on the market because I've got the experience and I've also got the systems in my mind. Some of those I'd like to share with you. Based on what I'm seeing today, I believe there's a 55% likelihood, give or take. This is, again, not supposed to be something that you go and bank on. This is just for making predictions. That we move to the upside, 45% chance that we move to the downside. I was at 70 bearish, 30 bullish last Monday. Today I'm at 55 to 45. So just keep that in mind. I was at 30 over here and 70 down here. Now I'm at 55.45. The market is starting to convince me that it's more bullish, and I'll tell you a few of the reasons why. First and foremost, Bitcoin dropped quite aggressively here. Dropped from 29.4 all the way down to 29.1. It's a $300 drop in 3 hours. In fact, it was more like an hour and a half. Bitcoin a couple of hours later would rally $356 in an hour. It rallied farther faster than Bitcoin could drop. The bulls in this case showed that they were stronger than the bears. Oftentimes when you see this kind of like, I should come up with a term for this. I don't think there is a term for these kind of candles. I'll call it a Venus flytrap formation. When you see a bullish Venus flytrap formation, we'll just make something up really quickly. That's how all technical chart formations came into play. Somebody just made up a word for it. When you see a Venus flytrap formation like this, where Bitcoin just decides it's going to go cliff diving, and then it bounces higher than where it started, that is very bullish. Here's an example. Let's say you have a racquetball and you throw it into a trampoline, or you drop it into a trampoline. Actually, it's a racquetball, so let's just say a piece of concrete. Let's just say you have a racquetball and you drop it, and you put no kinetic energy into it at all. If you drop it, based on how bouncy that ball is, based on how hard the floor is, based on air resistance, based on temperature, based on wind speed, based on all these different physical factors, the ball will probably bounce, if it's a really bouncy racquetball, to about 50 to 60% of the height that you dropped it from. Now, if you impart a certain amount of kinetic energy on that racquetball and you throw it into the ground, it's going to bounce higher than where it started. Now, if you live in the physical reality, which I hope you do, I don't think there's any chat GPTs in chat. If you live in the physical reality, you've probably done this before. You probably dropped a tennis ball or a racquetball or something that's bouncy, a ping pong ball, and you've watched it never go higher than where you started because gravity sucks out some of its energy. But you've probably also thrown a ball into the ground and you've seen it go higher than where it started. That's because there was kinetic energy imparted upon that ball, and the bounciness reflected the energy, and it bounced off the ground and it went back up. It's gonna bounce either way, but how high it bounces depends on whether or not there was kinetic energy put into it or not. Similarly, in the Bitcoin market, you can tell that the bears are, how shall we say, sleeping if the market does this. the market drops from a very far height, just kind of bounces a little bit. You drop let's say a golf ball. Well, golf balls are actually pretty bouncy because they're so hard. Let's say you drop a beach ball off a skyscraper. It's not going to bounce very high. But let's say you drop a racquetball from the second story of your school. It's probably going to bounce right up to the first story, right? There's more energy in it. It's not as much dead weight. The beach ball analogy is a little bit like what the market is doing right here. The market drops from a very large height, and it doesn't bounce very much. This Venus flytrap formation is a word we just made up. Shows that the bears are not very strong. They don't have much kinetic energy. They didn't run into the wall and then bounce so far off of it that they prove to be strong. And we look at the fruit of that. Bitcoin trades sideways and doesn't do a whole lot. Bulls come into strength a week and a half later. Remember, guys, we're on the 1 hour chart. This is 6 days. So the bulls came into strength later, showed that they were weak. They were weak for 4 or 5 days after that. Now, if we see the exact opposite happen and Bitcoin jumps off the cliff and bounces higher than where it started, then what is the only option? If you have a racquetball and you let go of it, now let's just say just so that we can kind of ascertain how we did this, let's say we remove the variable. Let's say that we just say that the ball left your hand from a certain height. And I don't tell you whether you threw it or not, or whether you threw it or you dropped it. If you are, and let's just do some like 8th grade physics here real quick. If you look at the hand and you say, okay, the ball fell from 10 feet up and then it bounced to 15 feet, what can you ascertain? You're not going to ascertain that that ball just bounced and it was just released. No, you're going to know as a matter of fact, because it is a law of physics, that gravity is going to suck some of the energy out. So if it bounced higher than where it started, it must have had energy imparted on it. It's the exact same thing with the market. If the market bounces higher than where it started, you know as a matter of fact, like there are very few areas in technical analysis that you're going to just know something, but you're going to know that in this moment, these two candlesticks anyway, you might not know 12 hours later, things can change quickly, but in these two candlesticks, the market had more strength than it did during the drop. And that is a very powerful piece of information, and is probably one of the biggest reasons why I am sitting here saying that I'm getting more bullish than I am bearish. I would say that that's potentially even more of an impact on my prediction of what the market is doing than the bullish MACD and bullish RSI, although those are important, and I do think those are reasons why I'm starting to lean more bullish. Another factor is the fact that the most important of these downtrends, the one that actually goes off of both of the wicks and that I'm not just kind of cheating with, has been broken. This is the actual downtrend. These are the actual wicks. Like, this is as cleanly as I can draw this. This is the downtrend very clearly. You can see how clearly the pivot point, which is why instruct up here is, the set point right here. That's the exact point. And if you adjust it just a little bit, then you can see that Bitcoin resisted against it and then is finding support on it right now. There is the other downtrend right here, but I'm kind of finagling a little bit just to give Bitcoin something to test off of. These two highs, you extrapolate them back. Yes, it runs through these highs and this second high over here, but the most important trend line is this one. I'll just draw it in white. The most important trend line is in white, and we broke through that. So by the way, think about it like this. Not only did we throw that ball, not only did that ball bounce higher than where it started, it also broke through a ceiling and went onto the next floor. That ball must have a lot of strength. Right? Does that make sense? It not only, and by the way, it also broke above 2411. Not just the downtrend, also 2411, which we know is an important level of resistance. It was important back here. It's been important further back in the past. It was important when the market rejected here. The market went from kind of strong here to much stronger 12 hours later. Why? Something's changing in the market sentiment. Something's changing in the market psychology. Something's changing in the mind of the trader. And we want to pay attention to it. And this gives me confidence that Bitcoin is moving in the right direction. Tomorrow might be different. Tomorrow, Bitcoin might do the exact opposite. Might rally a little bit and then crash hard. That would be like throwing a ball against the roof, right? With gravity inversed or something. But right now, that's giving me more confidence that Bitcoin's going to move to the upside. So let's plan accordingly. I'm going to start with a bearish plan because it hasn't really changed much. We've had the exact same trade setup down here for a week. And the reason we don't have to change it is because we're still dealing with the same floor. The same floor at 123 is right here. I'm going to change this a little bit because this is actually based off of a slightly different... Oh, no, it isn't. No, I did want that there. We'll go ahead and put our entry. I'm going to put my entry below this low, set on the 27th of July, this last Thursday. I'm going to update my positions just a tad, just a smidgen. Our level is at 28,872. I'm going to put our exit at 28,885. Yep. There's going to be our exit just above the support level. Just above the support level. And then we're going to put our entry. Again, this is following one of our principles of trading. This is how we set up trades. We do it the same way every time. We can adjust things on the fly, but we always start the exact same way. We find the two levels, the level that we're breaking to confirm we're entering the trade, and the level that we're going to put our exit at. And then we can exit with a trailing stop loss, and we should. We're going to find our level that we're going to break through to enter in the trade. We're going to put our entry price a little bit beyond that. We're going to find the level that the market is likely to move to. We're going to put our exit a little bit before that, and we're going to put our stop loss right above for a short trade, the place that you enter the trade at. So if the entry price, the floor that we're expecting to break through that would enter us into the short is at 29.89, we're going to put our entry just a little bit below that, stop loss just a little bit above that, and the exit a little bit below that. And you can see that gives us a trade like this. That's a 6x risk to reward ratio. A lot of sibilants and S's in there. I'm actually going to make it a little bit tighter. I'm going to move this up a little bit. I'm going to enter a little bit earlier. And then the stop loss being right there will give us a tight risk to reward ratio. All right, there's our short trade. Again, this is not a perfect. I'm actually going to move this down a little bit just for the sake of trying to make sure if this happens, it works out well. Again, don't use the exact numbers, but I do want to make this as successful as possible, just in case somebody goes against my wishes and does do it. This gives us a 5x risk to reward ratio. Make sure to use a 0.1% trailing stop loss there. Is about the number. You can go up or down. 0.1% seems to work pretty well. And for our resistance, I'm going to say if Bitcoin breaks above this downtrending level of resistance, and by the way I'm doing this, there's a tool over here. It's the fifth button down. It says projection, long position, short position. You're going to enter it, click the double click it, inputs. You have your entry price, profit, take profit and stop loss. And you can update these things as you go. You can also move them with these little handles right here. Entry price, I'm going to put above this downtrend. So that's going to actually move down with time. I'm not able to actually set up a entry like that where the entry moves down with time. So, I mean, if I would, then the entry level would be something like, let me just delete this for a second. If I could do that, then the entry level would be something like this, if that makes sense. I'm not able to do that in TradingView, so just kind of keep in the back of your mind that that's kind of what we're going for. I want to enter above this downtrend or enter above this flat level of resistance, whichever one comes first. Actually, I take that back. In this case, I actually want to enter above these two highs because Bitcoin has been generally trending up. I think you can kind of see there's a general, very slight uptrend going through here. So I'm actually going to put the entry price a little bit higher. I'm going to put it right here. I'm going to get above these levels, above the last one. I'll let us catch the top a little bit. We'll try to watch this very closely because this is difficult to find the exact level. It could be here, it could be here, it could be there. All right, this is a little bit of a more difficult trade, so you're going to have to watch this one very closely if you do it. Use an entry price. I'd say probably about right here on this. Very tight stop loss. I'm talking a ridiculously tight stop loss because you really don't want to catch the top of one of these wicks. You want to catch a full movement. But if Bitcoin bounces hard here, has a lot of power, it could break all the way up to 29.7. And then you would be able to enter a trade like this. It's like a 15x risk to reward ratio. Remember to use a tight stop loss. Now, there's another trade you could set up here, and this one is one that you'd want to be careful with because, as I said, we're moving more in the bullish direction. But if you want to get spicy, and this is a bit more of a spicy trade, you can enter a trade right here. And again, the trade entry is actually going to be like that, but I can't do that with TradingView, so just remember, adjust it over time, where it's below this downtrending level of resistance. This downtrending level of resistance that is now support, and might turn into resistance here in a few minutes, is quite important to the market. And since we're going to use this as an entry price, I want to make sure it is dead smack on. The actual level is right there, and the actual level is right there. Sorry for the breathing in the microphone. If we start to fall down to that level, then you could put a tiny little short trade in here down to the support. This is more risky because the market is going to move less distance, which means you have less forgiveness on your stop losses. Does that make sense? If the market is predicted to move a less amount of room, then you have to have even tighter stop losses. And you don't want to just get stopped out of a trade 5 or 10 times because that can end up costing you 0.5% to 1% of the trade. All right, so that's kind of what I would say to look for, something like that. Again, the principles, I'll just run over them again. First and foremost, you've got a step-by-step process to analyze the market and walk away with a plan. You perceive the market. What's going on in the market? What are the major factors? What do the technical indicators say? What does the news say? What does the fundamentals say? What does the recent history of the market say? What does the sentiment say? What is the fear and greed? What's the market dominance? All these factors. Perceive. It's only one component. It's not the most important, although I'd say it's the second most important. The least important component for trading, although still important component, is the second step, which is predict. What direction is the market going to go and why? And what is your percentage likelihood that the market will go in that direction? And third, you use all of that information, your perception and your plan to, your perception and your prediction to make a plan. That's the first principle. Walk into your technical analysis and your trade setups and your investment setups with a system, with a strategy. You can come up with your own. That is mine. I have found it to be ridiculously helpful with setting up trades and investments. And you will hear me teaching that quite a lot on the channel here. Now, the second thing I also want you to walk away with is how to set up the trades. First and foremost, find the price that you say, all right, this is, some people call this your trigger price. After we hit this price, I am interested in entering a trade. Until we hit this trade, hit this price, I'm not interested in entering a trade. There are different zones. This is a trade zone. This is a no trade zone. Right now, Bitcoin's in a no trade zone for me. It's trading sideways. You run through that trigger price one time. You might go up and down it a few times. If you do, you might need to adjust it higher or lower. But once you move through that trigger price with confidence and with volume, then from there you set up a trade. You might say if Bitcoin goes above $30,000, at $30,050, I'm going to have an entry. The next level of resistance is at $31,500. I'm going to put an exit at $31,400, and I'm going to put a stop loss that's no more than about 0.5% to 1%. Make sure I have a risk to reward ratio of at bare minimum 5x, please. More like 10 to 12 to 15x is ideal. And do your best to catch the breakouts. Bitcoin moves on major breakouts, and it also moves on trends. So if you're trying to catch a major breakout, one of the best ways to do it is what I just said, setting up a plan. If you're trying to catch a trend, then you can do the exact same thing. Just understand you might need a looser stop loss to catch some more of that fluctuation. So basically, if the market goes straight up, then have a plan for that. And the market does that quite a lot, especially when the market's on low volume. Though, when Bitcoin's kind of doing this, then that's more so where you want to have a looser stop loss and expect the market to go farther. That's more like if you're doing swing trading. You're saying, okay, I think Bitcoin's going to generally move up for the next month. That's where you might have a looser stop loss. Hold the position even if it's a little bit less profitable. And one of the final principles I want you to walk away from this with, again, that we teach all the time here on the channel, is as soon as you possibly can. Not necessarily as soon as you possibly can, but just about as soon as you possibly can, get a stop loss above your entry price. So if the market's moved up 0.2%, put your stop loss 0.1% above where you enter, so you at least make 0.1%, not including the trading fee, if the market moves down to there. You will get stopped out more doing that, but you will also probably end up walking away with profits more so than ending up losing profit totally on the trade in the first place. And in the long run, I do believe that that will compound and give you benefit. All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Let's read chat here for just a little bit, and we will continue to discuss here. Mike Lowry said, great show today, Jeb. Keep up the great work, and thanks for all you do. Smash the likes. Thank you, Mike Lowry. Thank you so very much. Crypto Mini Bike in chat said, good morning, everyone. Someone said, does BitBoy own this channel? No. No. My wife and I are the 100% owners of this channel. What? I don't know what you're talking about. All right. Should we buy? Well, I'm not here to tell you whether or not you should buy. That's not my goal. My goal is to teach you so that you can go and come up with those decisions for yourself. Crypto Surge said, just here to support Crypto Jeb. Love you, brother. Maybe if you get a chance to check out Divi Coin. Divi Coin. Let's look at it. I'll humor you. Let's look at Divi. I have no idea what this is. I just heard about this for the first time. There's a lot of coins on CoinMarketCap. Let's read it. Divi is an eco-friendly blockchain project with two fundamental principles, self-custody and simplicity. True to the founding vision of crypto made easy, Divi is on a mission to reduce the complexity of blockchain technology with uncompromising self-custodial solutions, all while enabling network participants to earn a competitive rate of return. By leveraging its proof-of-stake consensus mechanism distributed across a diverse ecosystem of individual nodes, Divi offers a scalable fintech solution ready for global adoption. What makes Divi unique, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Interesting. Okay, market cap. 11 million, 10 million. It's pretty new, probably. Relatively new. Oh, no, it's been around the block. Okay, here since 2018. All right, rallied up to, let's see on the price. Rallied up to 14 cents, currently at, yeah, okay, so nothing is the project. I don't know the first thing about the project. When I look at a market like this, does this make you want to invest in this? I mean, just think about it like this. What I like to do when I'm looking at a market and saying whether I want to invest in this market is I like to go back a certain amount of time. You know, let's go back 25% the lifespan of however long the market's been in business. Bitcoin's been, yeah, give it enough time because there's market cycles, right? Let's say I want to go back in Bitcoin 25% of its lifespan. That would be, and this might not be the best example on Bitcoin. Let's see. I want to go back, 13 years, 25% of 13. Let's see. That's 2 3/4. So 2 3/4 years. Let's go back 2 3/4 years on Bitcoin. Would I be glad that I invested in this, or would I be expecting at least in the next little while to be in profit? Let's see, 2.5 years back. That's quick math. 2 2/3 years. 52, 104, 104, 52 divided by 36, 140 months. Let's say 140 months ago. What is Bitcoin trading at? 140 months ago. Oh, this is in days. Okay. Oh, here we go. 40 months ago, what was Bitcoin trading at? 8 grand. Where's it now? 30 grand. All right, boom. Quarter of the lifespan of the market ago, I would be up. If I invested a quarter of the lifespan of the market ago, this is just kind of just a random, just look at that, just kind of an idea, right? This isn't a set in stone number. Go back half the span of the market, whatever it is. Would I be happy I'm in this trade? This is not the only way to decide what you're going to trade and invest in. We'd be up 250%. Go back on the stock market, for example. People like to knock the stocks. But let me tell you something. If you want to invest in something with a long-term rate of return, you're not going to find something with a 120-year lifespan where at any point you can go back 25% of the market's history and you're going to find that you're in profit. The DJI has been around since 1897. In that time, the DJI has rallied 159,000%. Now, nobody lives 120 years. Nobody can capitalize on all of that. But if you set yourself up in a financially sovereign way and you set yourself up to build generational wealth and leave your children's children an inheritance, which the Bible says a righteous man does, then you are in a position to capitalize on that 200,000% return. If somebody lived the principles of financial sovereignty back here and their children did it too because their daddy and their mommy taught them correctly, then they would be in a position to be worth hundreds of billions of dollars because they invested in this market. Capiche? Okay, cool. So, 120 years, let's say a quarter of that. Let's go back on the DJI. That would be 30 years. 30 years ago was 1993. In 1993 to today, market's up 840%. I'd like an 840% return. Yes, please. Thank you very much. I'll be 52 by then. I'm very young, so I have a longer time horizon than some people do, based on age. I understand that. But the DJI is a good example. Bitcoin's a good example. These are markets that I can go back on and I can say they have good track records. Now, let's apply that same thought process to Divi. Let me see here if I can find it on CoinMarketCap. Yes, I found it on CoinMarketCap. Again, I'm not saying the project's a bad project. I don't know anything about the project. But again, a lot of times you can look at something's chart and decide whether or not it's something you want to do more research into. I'm kind of deciding here whether I want to do more research into this. I can't. Okay, well, first of all, it's so small, I can't find a market that gives me the full history. So that's a bit of a red flag right there. I don't like investing in things that are that young. And everything I can find is just downward facing. That's not something I want to look at investing in so far. All right, let's go back to 25% of the time. It's been around since end of 2018, call it 2019, 5 years. Year and a half ago was January of 2021. Sorry, January of 2022. It was trading at 6 cents. Now it's trading at a third of a penny. So it's down, quick maths, again, about 90%. Not something I'm personally going to be interested in investing in. That's, by the way, not to say that it can't bring a return. But that is to say that I want to put the statistics and the odds ever in my favor. And I want to be set up statistically for my investments to profit. Nothing wrong with having a moon bag. You might know something about this project I don't. Maybe tomorrow this is supposed to be listed on Binance and you can make 500% tomorrow. I don't know. No idea, right? There's fundamental factors that are in play. And before I would choose to invest in this, I'm not personally too interested. It seems like an interesting concept. There's a lot of interesting concepts. Before I would personally look at investing in it, I would want to do more research. But right now, nothing's piquing my interest saying, all right, I just got to get in this right now. White papers are good, and you should read them if you're investing in altcoins. But white papers do not equal execution. Those are two different things. So Crypto Surge, not trying to beat up on your project, just telling you how I go about looking at these things. Wisely T said, good morning, Jeb. Still have been watching each show, just not live because I've been on summer break and I love sleeping in. I understand. Sleeping in does feel good. Does feel good in the moment. Does feel good in the moment. They're based in Dubai. There you go. Boom. A lot of people based in Dubai. And that's a good networking opportunity, and that is, in a way, I suppose, a fundamental benefit because they're right next to big money. I mean, you got Saudis over there that are just looking to dump their billions and billions of dollars of oil money into something. So it's a very fertile playing field, but if you plant a bad seed, it doesn't matter how fertile the soil is, it's not going to grow. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad seed. I'm not trying to say that. I'm just trying to make sure we look at both sides of things. Hey, Jeb, what is your estimated guess? Which month will be the next all-time high for this cycle in 2025? I think 2025 would probably be the right year, maybe quarter 4 of next year, but probably 2025. It's very hard to put a pin on that exact number. And to be honest with you, I'm honestly not terribly interested in trying to predict exactly what month it's going to happen. I do think it's going to be end of 2024, first half of 2025. I don't want to get too much more specific than that because there's so many things that go into that. And the thing is, if I'm trying to make a plan, right? The prediction of quarter 4 of 2024 to H1, half 1 of 2025 is a good enough range that gives me enough information to make my plan. Hopefully that makes sense. That gives me enough information to make a good plan. I don't have to say it's going to hit all-time high on January 3rd, 2025. That's not actually going to help me. If anything, that will hinder me, because if it doesn't hit it on exactly January 3rd, then it's going to be a temptation for me to get discouraged. Oh, I was wrong. My goal is to have a prediction that is helpful in the planning so I can make the money with the plan. So I can't tell you what month it'll be. I could say one thing or the other, but ultimately there's a lot of months in the next 3 years. So yeah. Crypto Mini Bike said, hit the likes, everyone. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Shermanation in chat said, what's up, Jeb? Sky in the ceiling, how you feeling? I'm sorry, I had to. All right. It's called a whipsaw, bud. I know, I just like the word Venus flytrap more. It's more interesting to me. All right. Guys, I think we are going to wrap it out. It is getting a little bit late, but guys, if you have not already, I would highly encourage you to go and watch the video that we put out on Friday. I'll just show you really quickly where that video lives on YouTube. That video is right here. How 2 principles make all millionaires rich. If you are a millionaire, you have probably embodied to some extent both of these principles. Because both of those principles are how you become wealthy in cryptocurrency and in anything and in life. You will be blessed because you watched that video. And the reason I can say that with so much confidence is because I am just being a megaphone for the word. And the word is true because it's written by the person that created finance. Word of God is true because it's written by the person that created finance in our world and the possessions in them. And so when we follow his instruction manual, we will be blessed. Will be blessed. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. I'm not trying to be a prosperity gospel preacher because a lot of that can be heresy. But what I am saying is that when you embody godly principles and you do it God's way, it's going to be successful. God knows the best way to use your finance because he's the one that made them. God knows the best way to fulfill your desires because he's the one that put them in you. Right? So long as they're godly. My point is, if you watch that video, I do believe you'll be blessed. And if you embody the principles in that video and the ones that we're going to teach, you will build wealth. And the reason I can be so confident is that because I didn't come up with all these principles. Some of them I did, but most of them you find in the Word. And if I have another principle, it's just an expounding of that principle. Right? So I think you'll be blessed for watching that video. I'd encourage you to go and check it out. All right, guys. Really appreciate all of you for tuning in. I am going to go ahead and wrap it out. I do just first want to say before we go, I want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching as always. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.